Farming basically means at the end of the year, hopefully you paid all your bills. But that doesn't mean you have any money left to start the next season unless you happen to have such a good season. CSA is a great fit for our farm. I think I have about 600 CSA members.
Happy to be here. We're so blessed, yes.
My father used to borrow $25,000 at the beginning of the season and pay it back to the bank in September. Instead of that now, we ask our customers if we can borrow that money, and they give it to us in February and willingly, and then we pay them back in vegetables through the season. They have 3 different size shares, mini, regular, and robust. If you're a mini share, you get 6, and you just come and pick out whatever 6 things you want. And if you decide you want 6 bags of tomatoes, you get 6 bags of tomatoes.
Oh my gosh, the produce is so fresher, has better flavor. And you get to pick and choose what you want to use. It is just wonderful.
When you do something the same for 20 years or 15 years or 10 years and you keep coming once a week to somebody's house every week, they're going to get to be like family.
Bye. We should have gone Spencer. Hey guys, I'm sorry.
So the farmers market part of our business is roughly 40%. So we're very dependent on it.
We do have some spinach. It's in the back corner there.
We go to 5 markets a week for 30 weeks of the year, and one of them we go year-round. 20 weeks of the year, though, we don't have a market, really. So we make as much money as we can in those 30 weeks.
Thank you so much. And there is your $1. We're happy to be back.
I think the end closest to the stand is where it's a little bit biggest now.
I do not think I'm the last generation that will farm this land because I have my nephews who are how much younger than I am. They're 30 years younger than I am. And then we have
Hello there and welcome to Kakaaki, the African Voice on Africa Independent Television, AIT. My name is Kunle Adewale and it's great to be with you again this Monday morning, the 3rd day of August 2026 is the first working day of the brand new month, and I pray that this new month brings the best to all of us here in Nigeria and wherever you're watching us from. Now let's tell you what we have for you on the program this morning. The clearest sign that the 2027 election countdown in Nigeria is well and truly on emerged over the weekend as the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, officially published the preliminary list and from EC9 personal particulars of 19 presidential candidates and their running mates for the 2027 general elections. The publication, released on Saturday, serves as a statutory requirement under the Electoral Act 2026 to allow public scrutiny of candidates' credentials. Official political campaigning for the presidential and National Assembly elections is set to kick off shortly after. That's on August 19. The published list includes notable candidates for the upcoming election. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is running for a second term under the All Progressives Congress, APC, with Vice President Kashim Shettima retained as running mate. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar is running under the African Democratic Congress with former Rivers State Governor Rotimi Amechi. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 elections and former Anambra State Governor Peter Obi nominated under the Nigerian Democratic Congress with Rabiu Musa Kwakwaso as running mate and Senator Sandy Ono, the flag bearer of the People's Democratic Party with Alhaji Babangida Umar as his running mate. There are a number of names not on the list. also making headlines. And former President Goodluck Jonathan, whom the Tenimu Turaki-led faction of the People's Democratic Party claimed to have presented to INEC as its presidential candidate, didn't make the list. Also missing from the list were the senator representing Delta North Senatorial District, Ned Nwoko, the former governor of Ogun State, Gbenga Daniel, and the former Gombe State Governor, Danjuma Goje, senators representing Ogun East and Gombe Central, respectively. Reactions continue to trail INEC's candidates list, and that list, as well as the reactions, will gain our attention during this morning's newspaper review at the top of the hour. Now, activities are still ongoing to mark this year's World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, observed annually on July 30, to raise awareness on the situation of human trafficking victims and promote their rights. The global initiative focuses on preventing exploitation, protecting survivors, and prosecuting traffickers. The theme for this year is Trapped Behind the Scab, which highlights how criminal groups force victims into cybercrime and online financial fraud operations with the objective of arousing stronger international recognition of victims trapped in digital scam compounds. Attention is also being focused on criminal networks and groups and individuals in the business of forced labor, sexual exploitation, child trafficking, and organ renewal. That's organ removal, actually. Now, joining us on Kakaaki to examine the social menace of trafficking in persons, the theme of this year's World Day Against Trafficking in Persons and what needs to be done to fight the associated scams and illegalities, will be joined by Joy Tomo, who is Program Manager at the Network and Corruption on Trafficking. We'll also have Benjamin Ali with us, who is the head of media of that same organization. So we'll be talking to them later on the program. Now, it's very easy these days to blame the high cost of goods, especially food items, on extraneous factors like the crisis in the Gulf, which has fueled transport and other costs, making moving agricultural produce more expensive. But attention has been recently drawn to reports that Nigeria loses roughly 38 to 40 million metric tons of food annually due to poor post-harvest storage infrastructure, which directly drives the country's severe food shortages and inflation. This massive wastage translates to an estimated economic loss of 3.5 trillion to 5 trillion naira each year, leaving nearly 1 in 7 Nigerians facing acute food shortage. Now, an X-ray of the problem shows Nigeria effectively produces enough food to feed its population, but the inability to preserve harvests creates an artificial cyclical famine. Up to 50% to 60% of fruits, vegetables, and tubers like cassava and yams rot before reaching consumers. Approximately 20% of grains, that's maize, rice, millet, etc., are lost to dampness, pests, and rodents. There's also a problem of silo underutilization. While the federal government has an installed silo capacity of over 1 million metric tons, less than 1/3 of it is actively utilized due to management inefficiencies. Why has this trend been left largely unchecked? Is it so difficult to eliminate this colossal waste which is impacting the lives of Nigerians negatively? Joining us to take a look at this crucial but seemingly ignored problem, we'll have Kabir Ibrahim, the president of the Nigeria Agribusiness Group, and he's also the former president of the All Farmers Association of Nigeria. Also joining us for that discussion will be Azubike Nwokoye, a food systems specialist. So that's the outlook for our conversations this morning, but don't forget that without you, there's no program. So don't forget that you can be part of the program by sending your views and comments to all our social media handles of Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube, where you'll find us at Africa Independent TV, at Africa Independent TV. That's where you'll find us. That will help you to stay up to date with the latest news from around the world. I'm talking about news. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll bring you the world news. Thank you for staying with us. You are on to Kakaaki, the African Voice, and this is the World News. And we'll begin from Morocco, where many migrants who risked their lives to enter the Spanish enclave of Ceuta are now making the difficult journey back to that country, saying hunger, exhaustion, and hostility have shattered their dreams of a better life in Europe. The migrants had earlier swum across the sea or scaled border fences in large numbers, driven in part by viral social messages suggesting that the heavily guarded border could be breached. But upon arrival, many say the reality was far from what they expected. One migrant, Brahim, a bakery worker from Fez, said he left his job after seeing videos of thousands making the crossing. He told newsmen he had hoped to build a better future, but instead found himself stranded with no clear path forward. According to him, he survived for 3 days on water alone, unable to afford food due to high prices. He questioned how something as simple as a tuna sandwich could cost as much as 100 dirhams. In the Moroccan border town of Fenidek, which lies opposite Ceuta, the atmosphere has changed dramatically. Streets that were once crowded with hopeful migrants are now nearly empty as many retreat from the border. Returnees described Ceuta as restrictive and unwelcoming, with shops closed and limited access to food and basic services. Uganda has unveiled a statue of Jonathan Netanyahu, the older brother of Israel's prime minister, who was killed during the Entebbe hostage rescue mission 50 years ago. Uganda's Army Chief, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, said the monument honored his courage and selfless service. Netanyahu was the only Israeli soldier killed in the raid, which rescued more than 100 hostages after 2 Palestinians and 2 Germans hijacked an Air France flight that had taken off from Tel Aviv and diverted it to Uganda's international airport. Kainerugaba described the mission as one of the most significant episodes in modern history and spoke of the now close ties between the 2 countries as a remarkable journey. The statue of Netanyahu, striding forward with a machine gun in his hands, stands outside the old airport terminal where the rescue happened. During the operation, 3 hostages, Jean-Jacques Mimouni, Pasco Cohen, and Ida Borochovich, also died, and Dora Bloch was later murdered in hospital in the capital, Kampala, while being treated there. The World Health Organization has warned that the ongoing Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo is intensifying at what it describes as an exceptional pace, raising fresh concerns about its potential spread across the region. In its latest update, the global health body says the outbreak has now become the largest ever recorded in the country, surpassing previous epidemics in both scale and speed of transmission.
The current outbreak, which was officially declared on May 15, is linked to the Bundibujo strain of Ebola virus, a variant for which there is currently no approved vaccine or specific treatment. As of July 30, health authorities have recorded over 3,600 confirmed cases, including more than 1,500 deaths, representing a fatality rate of about 44%. The WHO says the outbreak is being driven by sustained human-to-human transmission, with new infections and death continuing to rise. The epicenter of the outbreak is the Ituri province in northeast Congo, a region that shares borders with South Sudan and Uganda, raising concerns about possible cross-border spread. Complicating containment efforts is ongoing. Insecurity in parts of the country, particularly in North Kivu and South Kivu, where armed groups, including the M23 rebels, control significant territories. Health officials say population displacement, frequent movement across borders, and limited access to affected communities are making it unnecessarily difficult to track and isolate cases. Despite the challenges, efforts are underway to develop vaccines targeting the Bundibujo strain. A promising candidate is being developed by Singapore-based Hilleman Laboratories, while another experimental vaccine from Oxford University has already entered clinical trials, with the first volunteer recently receiving a dose. Ebola, a highly infectious disease transmitted through contact with bodily fluids, has killed more than 15,000 people across Africa over the past 5 decades.
Local authorities say 2 crew members have been killed after 2 helicopters collided mid-air in Greece as they were battling wildfires. The 2 fatalities were a Danish pilot and a Greek fire service liaison officer. A British pilot and another Greek coordinator on the second helicopter survived. Video of the incident some 65 kilometers west of the capital, Athens, shows one of the Bell helicopters hitting the propellers of the other, which burst into flames. Both fell into a ravine. Several fires have broken out in Greece this week, prompting massive evacuations. Several other European nations have suffered devastating wildfires after a succession of prolonged heat waves. According to the Greek fire service, the 2 leased helicopters collided while taking part in efforts to tackle a large wildfire burning on the Attica-Boeotia border. The crew members of 1 aircraft were rescued alive, while the second crew were recovered unconscious and later pronounced dead. Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis expressed his deepest sorrow over the accident. In a post on X, he said the loss of the Greek coordinator and Danish pilot fills us with all grief. He also sent condolences to their families. And Greece is facing a major environmental emergency with widespread wildfires destroying vast areas of forest and farmland as strong winds continue to hamper firefighting efforts. Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis has warned that the country is entering what he described as extremely difficult days, citing intense weather conditions and wind speeds reaching up to 100 kilometers per hour. He said such conditions make it nearly impossible for firefighting aircraft to operate safely, limiting the country's ability to contain fast-moving blazes. Nearly 500 firefighters have been deployed to battle fires near the coastal village of Porto Gemeno, located about 70 kilometers northwest of Athens. Authorities say the flames spread rapidly overnight, scaling mountainous terrain and threatening communities on the outskirts of the capital. Another 100 firefighters are tackling a separate blaze in Aigalia in the northern Peloponnese, while a new fire has also broken out on the island of Cephalonia. Early estimates from the National Observatory's climate tracker suggests that more than 6,500 hectares of land have already been burned, although experts warn the actual figure could be significantly higher. At least 5 people have been confirmed dead, while dozens remain missing after a passenger ferry carrying 271 people caught fire off the coast of Indonesia. According to the Surabaya Rescue and Search and Rescue Agency, a total of 225 passengers have so far been rescued, but 41 others are still unaccounted for, raising fears that the death toll could rise. Indonesia's National Search and Rescue Agency, Basarnas, said some passengers were forced to jump into the sea to escape the flames, with several of them later rescued by nearby vessels. Officials say the ferry was traveling from Surabaya in East Java to Makassar in South Sulawesi when the fire broke out. The captain reportedly contacted the ferry company to report the incident, but has not been heard from since, adding to concerns about the scale of the disaster. Rescue efforts have been complicated by the presence of flammable materials on board the vessel, preventing nearby ships from approaching safely. 4 vessels were placed on standby while a larger rescue team was dispatched from Surabaya, a journey expected to take up to 6 hours. The senior official at Indonesia's Ministry of Transportation, Muhammad Masihud, said authorities are prioritizing the safe evacuation of all passengers and crew. Ukraine says it carried out overnight strikes deep inside Russia, hitting a major oil refinery and an airfield that houses Russian strategic aviation. President Volodymyr Zelensky said the Angels airfield and the refinery, both in the Saratov region, some 600 kilometers away from Ukraine's border, were hit. An oil depot was also struck in Kaluga region and a drone launch site in Bryansk. President Zelensky described the latest Ukrainian strikes as, quote, our long-range sanctions, unquote, against Russian facilities. It says finance Moscow's war. Ukraine has said it carried out overnight strikes deep inside Russia, hitting a major refinery and an airfield that houses Russian strategic aviation. Later on Sunday, Ukraine said one person was killed in a Russian strike on a postal terminal near the northeastern city of Kharkiv. Both United States President Donald Trump has announced that planned military strikes against Iran have been called off, at least for now, as diplomatic efforts intensify. The crisis has already impacted global oil markets, with prices fluctuating amid fears of disruption in the Strait of Hormuz, a key global shipping route.
In a post on Truth social media, Trump said he has been asked by Iran and other Middle Eastern countries to delay any attack, claiming that the framework for a deal had already been agreed. However, Iranian officials have strongly denied making any such request. Tehran's acting defense minister, Majid Ibilarazar, dismissed the claim, describing it as false and part of psychological warfare. The development follows reports that the United States and Israel were considering launching one of the most aggressive bombing campaigns yet targeting Iran's energy infrastructure. Trump has earlier warned of overwhelming military action, stating that U.S. forces were locked and loaded, raising fears of a major regional conflict. At the same time, diplomatic efforts appear to be ongoing, with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman reportedly holding talks with Trump aimed at reducing tensions. The situation has heightened concerns, particularly countries like Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates, which could be vulnerable to retaliatory strikes.
Authorities in the United States say at least 3 people are dead following a shooting incident at a busy commercial area in Twin Falls, Idaho. A gunman opened fire in a crowded shopping area, sending panic through shoppers and business owners on a busy Saturday afternoon. Electricity is gradually returning to parts of western Cuba after a major grid failure left millions without power overnight. Power has been restored to Havana and several parts of western Cuba following another widespread electricity outage, the latest in a series of grid failures affecting the island nation. Now let's come back to Nigeria. As the rainy season intensifies, thousands of families across the country are once again being urged to prepare for possible flooding. The Federal Ministry of Environment has issued a fresh flood prediction, warning that several communities across 22 states and the Federal Capital Territory could experience flooding between the 2nd and 15th of August.
According to the National Flood Early Warning System Center, heavy rainfall, saturated soils, rising river levels and poor drainage may combine to trigger flooding in many locations. Communities in Benue, Kogi, Rivers, Bayelsa, Delta, Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Lagos, Ogun, Oyo, Anambra, Abia, Imo, Enugu, Ebonyi, Edo and several other states have been classified under varying levels of flood risk. Some of the worst hit locations are expected to include Makurdi, Lokoja, Port Harcourt, Yenagoa, Warri, Calabar, Onitsha, Aba, Owerri, Benin City, Lagos, and parts of Ibadan. For residents who have previously lost homes, farms, businesses, and livelihoods to flooding, the warning is a reminder that preparation can save lives. Every rainy season, floodwaters leave behind stories of displacement, damaged property, and shattered livelihoods. This latest warning is giving vulnerable communities a window of opportunity to act before disaster strikes. Officials say clearing blocked drains, moving valuables to safer locations, and strictly obeying evacuation directives could make the difference between safety and tragedy. The Federal Ministry of Environment is urging residents in critical risk communities to stay away from floodplains, riverbanks, and drainage channels, while state emergency agencies are expected to intensify monitoring of rivers, culverts, and other vulnerable infrastructure. Residents have also been advised to avoid driving or walking through floodwaters, disconnect electricity where flooding is imminent, and secure important documents, food supplies, and drinking water.
12 years after the abduction of the Chibok schoolgirls by the Boko Haram, the federal government says it has made significant progress in restoring hope and dignity to many of the survivors. The Minister of Women Affairs, Iman Suleiman Ibrahim, announced that dozens of the girls have graduated from universities and vocational institutions, while others are still pursuing higher education.
The story of the Chibok girls began on the night of April 14, 2014, when 276 schoolgirls were abducted from the government girls' secondary school in Chibok, Borno State, by Boko Haram insurgents. While many have since regained their freedom, life after captivity was marked by another painful challenge, stigma, and discrimination, as some survivors struggle to reintegrate into the society. The federal government, through the Rescue Chibok Girls Support Program, partnered with stakeholders to restore confidence in the survivors through education, skills acquisition, psychosocial support, and economic empowerment.
All of us, we have to come together to help them to recover. We have to close them out. We can't keep reminding them of, the sad part of their lives. We have to remind them of, the good parts, the future, because these children have been resilient. Today, we have girls that have not only graduated. In May, we're able to see 12 girls graduate from the AUN. Today, we're graduating 22 girls from the Modibo Adamawa Skill Center.
According to the minister, 21 more beneficiaries are currently studying for degree programs at the American University of Nigeria and are expected to graduate in 2027. Nursing mothers among the beneficiaries are also receiving 1 million naira each as child care support. In addition, 221 parents of the rescued girls were presented with business merchandise and 200,000 naira each to strengthen their household livelihood. Representatives of the Adamawa and Borno state government, led by the respective commissioners for women affairs, commended the initiative, describing it as a model for sustainable rehabilitation and social integration. Beneficiaries could not hide their joy.
This achievement is more than receiving certificates. It represents a new beginning, renewed hope, and the confidence to build a better future.
Ansem Nuhu, AIT News, Yola.
That's the world news on Kakaaki, the African voice, but stay with us. We have more reports for you on Kakaaki business.
Welcome to Kakaaki Business. The United States banned import from 43 more Chinese companies over alleged rights abuses, and other minority groups are getting firms in supply chains from electronics to food and metals, a government notice showed. The companies were added to the Ugier Forced Labor Prevention Act entity list, which creates a presumption that goods made wholly or partly by listed entities are made with forced labor and cannot enter the United States unless importers can prove otherwise. Beijing has regularly dismissed accusations of forced labor and other abuses against Uyghur and other Muslim minorities in the region of Xinjiang. The notice published by the United States Department of Homeland Security marks the first time companies have been added to the list under the Trump administration. It brings the number of mentioned entities to 187 from 144, the largest single expansion since the act creating the list was signed into law in 2021. Australian home prices suffered a second month of steep falls in July as higher borrowing costs and unease over tax changes accelerated a downturn in the market that has grabbed the attention of the country's central bank. Figures from property consultant Cotality showed national home prices fell 0.7% in July from June, the largest monthly drop since December 2022. Annual growth rate slowed sharply to 5.3%, well below the double-digit pace enjoyed early in the year. Sydney and Melbourne again led the monthly decline and falls of 1.4% and 1.2% respectively, leaving both more than 5% lower than their recent peaks. The slowdown spread to mid-sized cities, with Perth, once booming markets, all but flat in July. Gerard Borg, Cotality's head of research, noted reported prices for the previous month had also been revised lower, reflecting the speed of the downturn underway. Flight attendants at Canada's second-largest airline, WestJet, have gone on strike during one of the busiest summer holiday weekends in the country. As of early Sunday morning, 309 flights have been cancelled, according to the airline. The industrial action centers on issues related to pay, specifically compensation for work they do when the plane has yet to take off, known as ground pay in the airline industry. The airline began parking flights on Friday in preparation and is offering free cancellation and scheduled changes to passengers, with planes taking off throughout the weekend and until Tuesday. Calgary-based WestJet, which flies to more than 130 Canadian and international destinations, says it remains at the table and committed to achieving a negotiated agreement that recognizes the important contributions and professionalism of WestJet cabin crew. Flight attendants and WestJet have been engaged in contract negotiation since September 2025. West Africa needs between $900 billion and $100 billion annually to meet its development goals, yet the region continues to struggle with poorly mobilized, fragmented and misallocated capital rather than a genuine shortage of funds. And this is according to the African Development Bank. The bank gave this warning in its West Africa Economic Outlook 2026 report themed Mobilizing West Africa's Development Financing at Scale in a Fragmented World. The AFDB said the region's financing gap reflects an intermediation failure where existing capital and savings are not being effectively mobilized, allocated or converted into productive investment. The AFDB report identifies domestic resource mobilization as the most urgent and underutilized lever available for West African government, calling the region's tax performance critically low relative to continental and global benchmark. The AFDB also said West Africa development challenge extends beyond simply raising more money. It said the region is failing to effectively mobilize and channel available capital into productive sector. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies, known as OPEC+, has agreed to increase oil production by 188,000 barrels per day beginning in September. The decision marks the completion of the group's gradual reversal of voluntary production cuts introduced in 2023 and is expected to influence global oil supply and prices in the month ahead. The decision was reached during a virtual meeting of key OPEC members led by Saudi Arabia and Russia. The September increase is the fourth consecutive monthly production hike as the alliance continues to restore output that was voluntarily withheld to support global oil prices. Fuel prices have remained high across Nigeria, reflecting both domestic market realities and development in the global markets. Although prices vary slightly among marketers, motorists and businesses continue to pay significantly more for petrol and diesel than they did a year ago, with the impact being felt across transportation, food distribution, and industrial activities. A check of major filling stations in Lagos shows petrol prices ranging from 1,250 naira to 1,280 naira per litre. MRS sells at 1,250 naira, while Mobile sell at 1,260, Cornoil at 1,265 naira, while NNPC retail at 1,270 naira. Diesel prices in Lagos remain significantly higher. NNPC retail sells at 1,550 naira per litre, Cornoil at 1,600, Nipco at 1,650 naira, while MRS records the highest price at 1,750 naira per litre. In the Federal Capital Territory, petrol prices are also high, with NNPC retail selling at 1,299 naira per litre. Total Energies, Cornoil, AP and Nipco all sell at 1,300 naira, while MRS records the highest petrol price at 1,305 naira per litre. Diesel prices in Abuja show an even wider spread. NNPC retail at 1,695 naira, Nipco at 1,700, while Total Energies, AP, and Cornell each sell at 1,745 naira per litre. Analysts say several factors are responsible for the persistently high prices. Globally, geopolitical tensions in the Middle East, including the conflict involving Israel and Iran and concerns over the security of the Strait of Hormuz, have repeatedly pushed crude oil prices higher by raising fear of supply disruptions. In addition, production decisions by the OPEC Plus alliance continue to influence global oil prices. At home in Nigeria, although domestic refining capacity has improved with the commencement of local refining, the market remains sensitive to international crude prices and foreign exchange movements. And that's Kakaaki Business. Good morning.
Right, thank you so much for staying with us. Let's bring you a bit of sports now. And Nigeria finished 7th at the Glasgow 2026 Commonwealth Games with 24 medals in total, emerging as the highest-ranked African nation. Nigeria's contingent won 10 gold medals with victories in stellar track and field events, including Nathaniel Ezekiel triumphing in the men's 400 meters hurdles in 48.47 seconds, and Samuel Ogazi winning the men's 400 meters. 7 silver medals secured through competitive field and weightlifting performances, and 7 bronze medals added across various disciplines, including sprints and relays, such as the men's 4x100 relay and Toby Amushon's hurdles run. Australia topped the medals table with 171 medals, including 70 gold, while England finished second with 110 medals. Canada placed third, with DIA, Scotland and New Zealand completing the top 6 ahead of Nigeria.
For Team Nigeria, Glasgow 2026 will be remembered as one of the country's best Commonwealth Games outings in recent years. The medals came from athletics, weightlifting, para-athletics, para-powerlifting and judo, with several athletes making history along the way. One of the biggest stars was Samuel Ogazi, who won the 400 meters men in 44.25 seconds to become the first Nigerian to win Commonwealth Games in the event. Ezekiel Nathaniel also entered the history books after becoming the first Nigerian to win the Commonwealth title in the 400 meters hurdles. In the field events, Chukwuebuka Enekwechi became Nigeria's first Commonwealth champion in the men's shot put, while Ruth Usoro won silver in the women's long jump after producing one of the best performances of her career. There were more memorable moments on the track as Udodi Onwuzurike won silver in the men's 200 meters after improving on his 6th place finish at Birmingham 2022, while Ella ended Nigeria's 32-year wait for a Commonwealth Games medal in the women's 400 meters by winning bronze. World record holder Toby Amushon also added another international medal to her collection with bronze in the women's 100 meters hurdles. Nigeria's relay teams also impressed. The mixed 4x400 meters quartet won bronze in the event's Commonwealth Games debut, while the men's 4x100 meters team claimed bronze medal after Canada successfully appealed its earlier disqualification. Away from athletics, Nigeria's weightlifting and para-athletes continued the country's rich tradition of success at the Commonwealth Games' continental significance to the overall medal haul. Organizers said more than 630,000 people attended events, live sites, and the Glasgow 2026 festival. More than 4,000 volunteers contributed to 150,000 hours of service, while the Games' social media platforms attracted almost 500 million views worldwide. With Glasgow 2026 now over, attention will gradually turn to the World Championships and the Los Angeles 2028 Olympics, where many of these athletes will hope to build on the confidence and momentum gained in Scotland. For Team Nigeria, Glasgow 2020.
Story of our nation and beyond. Now, our political program gets a powerful upgrade. Welcome to the all-new Democracy Today Extra. We're shifting the gears of political broadcasting. No scripts, no spin, just the uncompromising truth.
Is there true democracy in political parties in Nigeria?
Adiza, why are we so obsessed with whether governors will use police against their opponents or even the president? Why?
Get ready. In-depth, no-holds-barred interviews.
Reserve seats, when it eventually comes to stay, is not the destination.
How do we safeguard the will of the people?
If a governor wants to intimidate you with the current police that we have, they will intimidate you. They don't need state police to intimidate anybody.
Fearless analysis, unfiltered facts.
The legislature is a fulcrum upon which democracy revolves.
We're beaming the ultimate searchlight on political actors, holding power accountable every single weekend. 10 p.m. Nigerian time on Saturdays and Sundays. Bold, analytical, uncompromising. Democracy Today Extra.
Issues as they break, the multitude, the political figures, the state and non-state actors.
It's a serious threat to democracy.
And our governments seem to be incapable of protecting
the scheming.
This is not a period we should sit back and go.
Every part of this country is important.
The intrigues.
There can be no one person that is bigger than the party.
Deft moves and the momentous declaration.
We didn't get any protection. I'm not particularly against anybody.
We track and capture them all.
I don't believe it was for that reason in our politics.
Follow in-depth analysis and no-holds-barred interviews.
Armed forces of the country is well capable. They need the political will.
Are they just waking up from sleep? Is there complacency?
Feel the pulse of happenings in the political arena on AIT Democracy Today. Widely acclaimed authority on politics. Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time.
Gender Agenda is where policy meets people. It's a bold policy literacy platform bridging the gap between decision makers and women across every sector. From parliament to politics, from leadership to governance, from peace to economy, development, human rights, from Nigeria to the rest of Africa, Gender Agenda amplifies voices too often excluded, ensuring every voice counts. Through compelling storytelling, social impact dialogue, thought-provoking documentaries, town halls that lean on data and research, we raise the bar. Gender Agenda, every Friday, 4:30 p.m. on AIT and on AIT's YouTube channel live.
My name is Adora Sydney Jack, and this is Gender Agenda.
Gender Agenda, women rising.
In the hallowed chambers where laws are forged and a nation's destiny is decided.
This is your parliamentary program, Inside the Parliament on AIT.
Voices rise, opinions clash, debates ignite.
We cannot be apologetic in the discharge of our constitutional duties as lawmakers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The burden of proving that the elections have been conducted peacefully and in accordance with law must shift to INEC.
From the Senate to the House of Representatives, this is where policies are tested, laws are crafted, and authority is held to account.
We spoke to some lawmakers on their opinions of the document presented by the president.
Every motion, every argument carries the hopes of millions.
We need more hospitals, more health clinics in communities so that they can effectively take care of the primary health need of our people.
The questions are tough. The exchanges are intense.
Mr. President, you can have your way, but I will have my say. You can use the gavel, and I will use my voice.
And those who want the proviso are 55 in number. And so the proviso says,
but who truly stands for the people? Who is driving the change that defines our tomorrow?
Let us tell ourselves the truth. Why are we here talking about LGBT, GTBT, whatever?
Get the answers on Where Nigeria Decides on Inside the Parliament on AIT every Tuesday, 4:30 p.m. The stories now break online. Don't miss anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, Official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT. On air, online, on live.
Get ready for a bold new chapter in political discourse. The conversations that matter most are stepping into the spotlight like never before. Political platform, the hard-hitting, no-holds-barred program you have trusted on Ray Power Radio is making a powerful move to television. Tune in to Africa Independent Television, AIT, as political platform debuts on your screen, bringing deeper analysis, sharper debates, and the voices shaping our nation's future right into your screens. From policy and politics breakdowns to real-time discussions with key stakeholders, this is more than a program. It is where opinions are tested, truths are uncovered, and the people's voice is heard. Join seasoned hosts and expert guests as they tackle the issues that define our democracy. No filters, no distractions, just real talk. Political platform now on AIT, 9 to 10 a.m. every weekday. Stay informed, stay engaged, be part of the conversation.
And welcome to Get Fit in 60 Seconds with Jolly Phillips. Now, everyone has 60 seconds in every day to spare. So if you're ready, let's go! Well done! I hope you had a great workout. Anyway, what I need you to do is to follow us on Instagram at Alpha Fitness Studios and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Alpha Fitness Studios, for free workout videos, free dance videos, sales and promos, and make sure you join us at the gym, Alpha Fitness Studios in Lekki Phase 1 next time you're in Lagos. So until the next time, bye-bye!
Hello, great people of Nigeria. Welcome to the Leadership Clinic. Today, I'll be speaking to you on No One Left Behind. He was in 1914, an explorer named Sir Ernest Shackleton set out on what was supposed to become one of history's greatest Antarctic expedition. But before the team could reach its destination, disaster struck. Their ship, their endurance, became trapped in thick ice. Months later, it was crushed beneath the frozen sea, leaving Shackleton and his crew stranded thousands of miles from civilization. They had no rescue team, no communication, no certainty that anyone would ever find them. At that moment, the mission changed. It was no longer about reaching Antarctica. It was about bringing every member of the team home alive. What made Shackleton extraordinary was not that he avoided failure. His expedition never reached its original goal. What made him remarkable was that he refused to abandon his people. In a century, in a time like this today, referring to what goes on around, where leaders can, at every slightest opportunity, betray their own people. But in this case, it wasn't really so. So throughout the ordeal, he stayed close to his men. He encouraged them when hope was fading. He shared their hardship with them. He made sure that no one was left behind. Against all odds, every member of the expedition survived. That is leadership. Many people think leadership is about achieving goals. Goals matter, results matter, but people matter even the most. A leader who succeeds while leaving broken people behind has not truly succeeded. So how do you become a leader people can trust? First, value people above human performance. Never become focused on results. Become focused on people. Because people matter. People are everything. The promotion of the interests of other people should become your priority. When you become a leader who has capacity to see other people become more, what happens is that you get to the place that people would term unforgettable. Responsibility gives you leadership, and that's where leadership has its meaning, when leadership is responsible. Remember, long after your achievements are forgotten, the way you cared for people will remain your greatest legacy. Remember, people will never forget the way you make them feel. Great people of Nigeria, you must remember, if a man does not have a purpose waking up, sleeping becomes interesting.
Have you ever wondered why your student or child finds it very difficult getting along with you? You see, a child or student can choose his or her friends, but unfortunately can't choose his or her teacher or parent. Now, I know that it could be that your child does not understand you as a teacher or as a parent, the subject you teach, or the child just simply feels that others in the class or even siblings at home receive preferential treatment. Now, having observed the child, all you need to do is take time out to get interested in the activities that he or she enjoys. You could even request for a friendly talk, chat about what he or she likes and dislikes, listen more, and make sure to always check on the child. But also, don't be a bore. Eventually, your child or student would warm up to you. Honestly, that's my 2 kobo.
People, politics, and power brings context and clarity to issues and events in governance, democracy, and development. On People, Politics, and Power, we feature people who shape the events and define the issues.
A lot of the agencies are still struggling with implementation of freedom of information.
The government should come. We need Nigeria to work.
We examine the interplay and interaction of politics with power and their impact on policies and the people.
It's about getting the system to deliver the kind of electoral outcome that people will be happy with.
People, Politics, and Power with Imoni Amarere.
Will low-performing agencies be held to account? Or will the numbers fade after the headlines?
At 1 p.m. every Monday and Friday on AIT. The issues as they break. The multitude, the political figures, the state and non-state actors.
It's a serious threat to democracy.
And our governments seem to be incapable of protecting.
The scheming.
This is not a period we should say bow and go.
Every part of this country is equal.
The intrigues.
There can be no one person that is bigger than the party.
Deft moves and the momentous declaration.
We didn't get any protection.
I'm not particularly against anybody.
We track and capture them all.
I don't believe it was for that reason in politics.
Follow in-depth analysis and no-holds-barred interviews.
Armed forces of the country is well capable. They need the political will.
Are they just waking up from sleep? Is there complacency?
Feel the pulse of happenings in the political arena on AIT Democracy Today. Widely acclaimed authority on politics. Monday to Friday, 7 p.m. Nigerian time.
Gender Agenda is where policy meets people. It's a bold policy literacy platform bridging the gap between decision makers and women across every sector. From parliament to politics, from leadership to governance, from peace to economy, development, human rights, from Nigeria to the rest of Africa, Gender Agenda amplifies voices too often excluded, ensuring every voice counts. Through compelling storytelling, social impact dialogue, thought-provoking documentaries, town halls that lean on data and research, we raise the bar. Gender Agenda, every Friday, 4:30 p.m. on AIT and on AIT's YouTube channel live.
My name is Adora Sydney Jack, and this is Gender Agenda.
Gender Agenda, women rising.
In the hallowed chambers where laws are forged and a nation's destiny is decided.
This is your parliamentary program, Inside the Parliament on AIT.
Voices rise, opinions clash, debates ignite.
We cannot be apologetic in the discharge of our constitutional duties as lawmakers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The burden of proving that the elections have been conducted peacefully and in accordance with law must shift to INEC.
From the Senate to the House of Representatives, this is where policies are tested, laws are crafted, and authority is held to account.
We spoke to some lawmakers on their opinions of the document presented by the president.
Every motion, every argument carries the hopes of millions.
We need more hospitals, more health clinics in communities so that they can effectively take care of the primary health need of our people.
The questions are tough. The exchanges are intense.
Mr. President, you can have your way, but I will have my say. You can use the gavel, and I will use my voice.
And those who want the proviso are 55 in number. And so the proviso says,
but who truly stands for the people? Who is driving the change that defines our tomorrow?
Let us tell ourselves the truth. Why are we here talking about LGBT, GTBT, whatever?
Get the answers on Where Nigeria Decides on Inside the Parliament on AIT every Tuesday, 4:30 p.m. The stories now break online. Don't miss anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, Official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT on air.
All right, thank you so much for staying with us. It is 7:01 a.m. right now, and it's time for the newspaper review, which, of course, you know, we don't do alone. We don't do it all by ourselves on this program. Dr. Lemi Ogegwe is already here in the studio with me, and, of course, after a refreshing night of rain, I'm sure you slept well, because the weather was really cool all day yesterday.
Yes, slept partially well, but very pensive, because today is the burial, the service of song of one of our illustrious friends, Dr. Emeka Fleming Okengu, who passed on in May 20-something, and his service of song is today. So sleeping and thinking and reflecting about the impact he made and what Nigeria has lost in his person.
Well, may so rest in peace. We should have Chris Kendewandu joining us from Lagos this morning. Is Chris joining us this morning?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning.
Morning. I can see you are in Lagos. Your background tells me you are in Lagos. You are not in Honolulu this morning.
Kule, you have become a seer. Good morning.
All right. Good morning, CK.
Good morning, my brothers.
Good to have you.
Good morning, CK.
Okay, let's look at what the papers have for us this morning. We'll start from the Daily Global, which leads with the story, Atiku rejects Tinubu's economic scorecard, cites unpaid wages. That's the top story on the front page of that paper. And when you go to the front page of the Daily Monitor this morning, you'll see the headline, Atiku to presidency, address Catholic bishops' concerns, stop attacking Onayekon. The writer tells us, says presidency's comments towards Onayekon unbecoming of a government amounted to sheer arrogance, rejects defense of Tinubu's economic policies, describes it as desperate attempt at revisionism. And at the bottom of the page, you see that headline there, presidency dismisses Atiku's 7.98 trillion naira oil windfall claim, demands evidence. All right, let's go to the Nigerian News Direct now. Nigeria's economic rebounding, GDP hits $377 billion. Presidency replies Atiku, says opposition relied on outdated 2024 data to criticize reforms, defense debt profile, oil revenue, healthcare, and education spending. This Nigeria is the next paper we're looking at. Its headline, the lead one says, presidency fires back at Atiku over debt claims. FG says GDP up 49%, debt burden remains sustainable. Ex-VP alleges soaring borrowing inflation, hardship expose policy failures. The Daily Asset is the next paper we're going to. Its headline, top one, says, presidency, Atiku, in fresh war of words over reforms economy. Reforms stabilize Nigeria's finances, presidency insists. Ex-VP rejects scorecard, backs Catholic bishops on state of nation. You'll find that story on page 2 of the paper. And at the bottom of the page, just before we go on to the next paper, you have attackers kill soldier police officer as troops rescue 9 in Zamfara. Gunmen invade Enugu church, abduct worshippers. Security launches manhunt. You'll find that story on page 2 of the Daily Asset. Now let's go to the New National Star. Nigerians knock presidency over attacks on Catholic bishops. That's the lead story on the front page of the paper. It has a few riders there. Highlight the issues, not personal attack on Onayekon. Atiku, Catholic bishops, not partisans, speak truth to power. Shehu Sani. And also you find on the front page of the Daily Sun, ripples over Tinubu Catholic bishops meeting. The writers say Northern Christians back clerics dismiss Boala's claims. They are not cheerleaders, Atiku tells presidency. Moving on to the next paper for this morning, the Daily Newscraft. Presidency, Nigerians at loggerheads over Catholic bishop's visit to Tinubu. Onayeko's interview was an abuse of clerical privilege. Presidency. Catholic Church is one of our moral voices, says Atiku. Also on the front page of the Disclosure News. Tinubu, I'm committed to freedom of religion. Apologize to Onayeko now. Atiku tells presidency. That's one of the riders. Another one says, Catholic bishops speak truth to power, not partisan. Shehu Sani warns. At the bottom of that page, you see the headline just under the picture story. IMF cautions governments against financial repression amid high debt profile. Page 2 is where that story is on the front, in the daily Disclosure News, I beg your pardon. Now let's go to the Authority newspaper this morning. 2027, coalition pressures Atiku, Obi, others to produce single candidate. That story flows onto page 2 from the front page of the paper. And that thin strip just below the picture story. DSS, vigilantes neutralize bandit kingpin, Idi Abasu, Aiki, 60 others in Katsina. Page 9 is where you'll find that story. The Abuja Inquirer is the next paper, and its lead story says, a flood alert puts Abuja on edge. FCTA steps up advocacy, urges residents action. Going on now to the Al Jazeera, Nigeria. Yobe, floods hit Damaturu. 2 other local governments render many families homeless. And there's a story there. Oyo NUJ Mons veteran journalist, Lekon Alabi. Now let's go to the GWG.ng. Its lead story says, feared bandit kingpin, Aiki, 60 followers killed in DSS trap. That story flows from the front page and continues on page 3. Let's also move on now to the Standard Times. Its lead story says, probe alleged 6.79 billion naira police fund scandal, recover missing firearms. Serap tells Tinubu. On to the Nigerian Pilot now with its trademark red headlines. Probe missing 6.79 billion naira police funds. Stories on page 8. The writers say, Serap writes Tinubu, urges him to conduct comprehensive probe into allegations of missing police funds. Says funds were allegedly diverted or misapplied within NPF Police Affairs Ministry. The Whistler is the next paper we are going to. And its own lead story talks about something completely different. NDLEA data exposes arrest conviction gap in drug war. Kano records 1,422 arrests, secured only 147 convictions. 580,000 kilograms of codeine seized at seaports yields no conviction. That's the top story there, and the paper has gone ahead to produce graphics to illustrate the story itself. Now let's go to the Business Diary this morning. And its lead story says 43 insurance companies scale through recapitalization hurdles as 8 others undergoing final capital verification. 7 insurers risk license withdrawals. That's the top story on the front page of the Business Diary. Now let's go to the Business NG. High interest rates cut bank loans by 18.9 trillion naira as Nigerians feel CBN's tight policy. Looking at the bottom of that page, you'll see the story. Fraudsters target POS agents with fake OPay upgrade scam. That's another story there. The Daily Independent, let's look at it. The lead story says early recovery in manufacturing sector faces steep hurdles. At the bottom of the page, you see the headline, 50 trillion naira financing gap threatens rebound of Nigeria's real sector. And those are the headlines that we're looking at this morning. Let's come to our reviewers now. Our next candidate list, which is not on any of these papers but broke at the weekend, is where we're going to start this morning. Dr. Ogegbe, on Saturday, INEC released the list of candidates, and notable among the ones that were missing from there, of course, the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, is not on that list. And of course, we see the president and the vice president, their team on one side for the APC, Sandy Ono for the PDP, and of course, Atiku Abubakar and Rotimi Amici, as well as Peter Obi, and all of that. How did you read that? Let's quickly talk about that before we go.
Clearly it's expected. The only area that may have come to many as a confirmation, I'm not sure whether as a surprise, is the one about who the candidate of the PDP would be, presidential candidate. And apparently, INEC has always shown its recognition towards the faction that is said to be the Wike-blessed faction, as it were. So it's not a surprise for me personally. What I just felt was avoidable blemish was the fact that Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, former president of Nigeria, and fine gentleman, allowed even the idea of his name being dragged as the candidate of the Turaki PDP. You know, I just felt that Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan should have come out early enough to just disown all that process, because it now appears like, you know, if history is going to be written, he had interest. That's why his name was forwarded there. I felt that it was wrong calculation on his part. The list that has gone out has also thrown up controversies about qualifications of individuals who are running. The whole drama about the president's certificates, primary school certificates and all that has also come up, is thrown up now. INEC seemed to anticipate the fact that it will not just generate controversy. You know, it's been generating controversy since 1999, when even Chief Gani Fawemi, senior advocate of Nigeria of blessed memory, went to court over the issue of the Toronto certificate. So the president does not seem to have a track record that people can easily track and see, apart from the fact that he was an accountant in Chevron and all of those, his working experience, all of his working experience. So this has generated another polemics. I remember during the election petition, presidential election petition tribunal 2023, you recall that Atiku and Peter Obi made a heavy weather of that idea about certificates and all. But it's obvious to us that this is not the first time. Remember that when President Muhammadu Buhari at that time was running, the issue of his certificate too was an issue, until the military also came and said that they had it, but somehow it's been misplaced. Then some WAEC official came later. The president had about 14 senior advocates at that time represent him in court to seek to stop anybody from asking for the certificate. This opacity is not nice. I would advise that leaders at every point, from whatever level, once you offer yourself to public service, you become goldfish. Expect scrutiny, and should therefore just open yourself up. And after all, the Constitution is even very liberal on issues of qualification, isn't it? It's quite liberal. Says that even when you can read and write or so, or can demonstrate... You need to have a secondary school living certificate. Yes, of course. Then you but even at that, you have the secondary school living certificate. It does not say you must have credit. No. You can just have it.
Let me ask you to hold on. Let me go to Chris, who I'm sure is very interested in this conversation. Chris, a quick comment here.
Well, Dr. Weber have said it all. Practically nothing to add. What he said is just the basic truth. And the issue at stake is that the INEC has finally released the names of the candidates. And that in itself is able to watered down detention surrounding the candidacy of those of the opposition parties, especially that of the ADC, that has been very controversial in the last few weeks with the courts cases from Kogi to Abuja to everywhere. So at a point, nobody knows whether Atiku and his running mate Rotimi Amechi are going to be on the ballots 2027. But good enough that with the publication of the list, then we have now seen that Atiku is going to be on the list with Rotimi Amechi, and P2B is also going to be on the ballot with Kwakwanso. Same with the president and the current vice president. So that is it. And also there are other parties. Just as Dr. Lemi also said, that of the PDP is the most laughable for me. That name, I've never heard of it before. Where they went to pick him from, I don't know the reason they did. I personally thought that with the fragmentation of the PDP, INEC shouldn't have recognized any candidate from the PDP. That's my personal opinion. But for now, it seems that INEC seems to have supported or seems to have published the list of the weekend late faction of the PDP. Whether that will stand or not is what we'll wait to see. But it's obvious that preparation for the election is on. And from the INEC timetable, anytime from September, I think September 19th or thereabouts, the campaign will start fully. Although we know that subtly the political parties have started their campaign since last year. They jumped the INEC like a whistle, and have been campaigning directly or indirectly. We've seen the mobilization since last year. But what you can be rest assured, that on the part of government is not going to come to a standstill between now and January, February, when that election is both at the federal and the state level. Every attention from the federal, those in presidency and also the governors will be focused on the 2027 election. And the Nigerians are going to be the ones that will suffer for it. And that is what I've always said, that our political system is in a way that you find it difficult that out of 4 years tenure, those elected will use 2 years to do whatever they want to do, engagement, put in projects, do all they need to do, and use the next 2 years to start campaigning. And we have seen that. So governance is going to take a backstage. What we will experience from now to January, February is going to be politicking, which I personally feel that that shouldn't be. Because you are going to election does not necessarily mean that every other thing is going to come to a standstill. But let's see how this pans out. INEC has done its job.
All right, Chris,
and is following the timetable tenaciously.
We're losing time now. I want us to go to the headlines in today's papers. And Atiku Abubakar, the former vice president, and the presidency have been in a war of words over the economy. You have that on the front pages of several papers. Daily Asset, for instance, the Newscraft also has it. So, Dr. Ogebe, this back and forth, this Nigeria presidency fires back at Atiku over death claims, several of the papers have that headline.
Well, it's the role of the opposition to do what Atiku is doing. But what we require, the real facts and figures, not the politics. And the reality of the economy, where it is, it's not to be told us by the president or Atiku Abubakar. The real judge of where Nigeria is today economically are actually the citizens of Nigeria, who by one policy or the other of government have their purchasing power either decline or improve or increase. And the reality is that regardless of whatever macroeconomic indices are reeled out by this administration, the reality is that the economy is taking its toll on Nigerians. Nigerians are in dire straits. The people's purchasing power have declined very badly. And so that is our reality. Yes, there are economic reforms embarked on by this administration that we hope would yield the needed results. On paper, it's yielding the results that the president likes to, thump his chest up for. However, our reality is that we're buying food items still at astronomical prices. Our reality is that it is difficult to fuel our cars since subsidy was removed, even though I always like to be factual on the issue of subsidy. Subsidy was removed by the last administration when the budget that the current president inherited was devoid of allocations for subsidy. And yes, the president always tells you that he is Buhari and Buhari is him. And so they were in cahoots together when the subsidy was removed. And it made life very difficult, has made life very difficult. The Strait of Hormuz has worsened it because Nigerians are buying fuel at over 1,300 naira.
Okay.
And that means transportation has increased. And once transportation goes up, the effect of that, the ripple effect, is that it affects everything else. And at current state, I do not think that the Nigerian masses would be saying that the economy is as beautiful as the president and his team would want to say. Okay. However, that is politics between Atiku and the president.
All right, Chris, Dr. Ogegwe has talked about high food prices, and one of the things we're discussing on this program this morning, later on, I think our second conversation, it will be about actual wastage of food, produce, large chunks of produce, up to 40 million metric tons every year lost because of infrastructure gaps and poor storage, underutilization of silos and all. But what do you have to say concerning this issue of the economy that has turned into a war of words between the former vice president and the presidency?
Well, the current government in power will go down in history of Nigeria to have borrowed the most in terms of borrowing, and that's the fact. Within the first 2 years of this government, they have borrowed, if my mathematics or if my economics still serves me right, more than all the other previous governments put together. And that wasn't what the president would be. I remember vividly that at the beginning of this administration, we were told that this government is not going to borrow. Even if they are going to borrow, it will be for specific projects. We have seen a situation where practically on every other week, the government comes up and says that it wants to borrow this, wants to go back, and they know that they have a willing hand and a listening ear with the National Assembly. And once that is tabled before the National Assembly, within an hour, they will pass that. And the question of always asks, there's nothing wrong in borrowing, for goodness sake. Every country borrows. But the difference between Nigeria and other countries is why other countries borrow for specific projects that's going to yield some level of dividend of democracy. You ask yourself, all that we are borrowing, what are we using it for? Yeah, there have been pockets of projects here and there, but will that justify all that we borrow so far? And so that has always been the issue for me. So the level of borrowing is out of the roof, and if we continue in this way, this is the same country that towards during the what we call it, the Obasanjo regime, that we were able to pay off all our debts and we became debt free during the time of Obasanjo and during the time of the current WTO Director General Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Just ask yourself, within that period, what has happened? And the contrast for me is also, the government is also telling us they are making so much money. We are making so. I saw the president talking to, who was it? Okay, last week. He was talking to a delegation from Oyo State led by Olubadan. And he said that we are making about 4 times and we are giving the governors about 5 times, they're getting about 5 times of what they used to have. Meaning that we are making so much. If we are making so much and we are giving money to these tiers of government, how come we are also borrowing? I'm not an economist, I'm just a real journalist. So that's the question for me. But coming to Atiku, rounding up on this, that is doing the job of opposition. P2B has also been doing that. But I also want to hear what the alternatives are. It is not just criticizing. If you watch the UK parliamentary debate where the Prime Minister comes every week, once it's stable, you see the opposition also coming up to also criticize some of the ideas and also make suggestions. Why is it that our own opposition parties are not also making suggestions? We are Nigerians. If there's something that government is not doing right and you think that they are not doing it right, it is also for you to also come up with alternatives and say, this is how you have done it, or this is what I will do if I were there. And those are the things you have to canvass for Nigerians to not make look at themselves and say, in 2027, based on what you have been saying as an opposition and what you say you're going to do,
Chris,
I am going to vote for you. But we hardly see opposition doing that in Nigeria, and that is where the problem for me.
Chris, I'd like you to also make a quick comment before I let you go on this ripple that has been caused by the visit of the Catholic bishops to the president and, of course, the Cardinal, John Cardinal Onayekon, giving an interview concerning that meeting. That has generated some furore too. A quick comment.
Okay. Yeah. Kule, when we go for press conferences, you remember we are always told that there is a rule of engagement. And at times they will tell you that what we are disclosing here is not for public consumption. I'm sure you are very well aware of that.
Yes, I am.
They tell us, yes, they tell us that way. So was there a rule of engagement is there any way that the president agree with the bishop that there are areas where we don't need public, let it just be between us? But it was the presidency that came out with a press statement immediately after that. They were the one that came out with the press statement on the issues that we had discussed. And it wasn't even Onayekon that spoke, because there is the president of Bishop Council. He was the one that read the communique. It was only when Archbishop Onayekon went to a national TV station to say what he said that you're not getting all this kind of relation. And I continue to say that just take the message, leave the messenger. When I saw people, the spokesperson of the president coming out to say, like Daniel Bola coming out to say, Archbishop Onayekon was speaking for the Catholic, not for Christian. And you ask yourself, what kind of mindset do these people, those surrounding the president, what kind of... This is not the first time. Quickly, we have seen men of God coming out in the past to speak and talk and speak truth to power. There used to be an Olubimi Okoye in the past. You know what he stood for. You remember there used to be one bishop somewhere in Kwara State. I think it's Bonigi or something like. I can't remember that man's name.
Yes, Bishop Bonigi. I think it's Bishop Bonigi. Yes, I'm trying to recall.
No, Bonigi, that should be his name. He was even part of. I think he was even part of Nadeko and this thing. Those days that were pressed against the government or the military government. There used to be one bishop, I think it's late now, Bishop Adetiloye of the Anglican Communion.
Yes, Bishop Adetiloye, I remember.
These are men of God that have come, and of late there used to be, I still use the word, quote and unquote, there used to be one Bishop Patukuka. I don't know why he's no longer talking. But you see that these people that have come out and said the truth, because most of them they are not our leaders. They only listen to what their aides are telling them. Most of the time, what they are telling them is not the truth. So when you see opportunity like this, where people are coming and telling the president, this is the problem, I expect the president to take most of the issues that were raised by the bishops and go back and think over it, rather than the various attacks that have been seen. This is absolutely unnecessary.
Okay, Chris. Thank you very much, Chris. I have to let you go now. We are completely out of time, but I'm going to take a comment from Dr. Ogegbe before we close this segment. Thank you, Chris. Have a great day out there in Lagos. Now, Dr. Ogegbe, I'm reading here the Nigerian pilot. Onayekon addressed Catholic bishops' concerns. Article tells presidency. It's still part of the brickbats between.
Yeah. Well, it's unfortunate that this visit would lead to such furore. On the back page of This Nigeria, I dealt with it extensively. I shared my perspective, and it's titled Onayekon and the Confidentiality Question. The truth of the matter is that Chris even articulated it properly when he said, what was the rule of engagement? Did you say what you see and do in Vegas remains in Vegas? Did you commit them to the fact that such conversation must not go out? Now, the Catholic bishops were discussing issues of grave importance to Nigeria and the citizens of Nigeria. You do not expect that they will also not be accountable enough to actually share some of the discussions they had. If they had concerns about insecurity, they had concerns about the poverty level, they had concerns about whatever aspect of the Nigerian life, why should you expect that without swearing them to an oath of secrecy during the meeting, they would not discuss it? What you expect is that there should be moderation in discussions. For instance, if the president shared intelligence about security, you don't expect them to also go and disclose such. But the conversation that Onaekon had on the television station was not such that we needed to begin to make a heavy weather of it. And let's say it clearly. An aide to the president, Temitope Ajayi, described it as abuse of clerical privileges. It was not a sacramental confession that was being done by the president when the bishops visited. Again, it was not a personal visit. They were not guests of the president in personal capacity. They were there as the conscience, one of the consciences of the nation. And this group of bishops, they've always demonstrated that. In the Jonathan era, they were very vociferous in their critique and criticism of government. Even in the Buhari era, they were also visible. They were also quite clear on their positions. And why should government always feel that when there is a criticism or a critique of its affairs, it means that you are the enemy of government? Boala, unfortunately, also diminished the presidency on how they handle such matters by even wanting to denigrate them and limit their scope. They were not just speaking for Christians, for God's sake. They were speaking for Nigeria and for Nigerians. And say what you will, what they had to say were matters of grave importance that concerned all of us. And the president and his minders must learn to be humble about criticism. Remember, you cannot use double standards. It is this same president and his minders who released a letter written by Donald Trump. Now, if you will release letters written by Donald Trump, then you have conversation with bishops, you release a press statement about it. Citizens now have a right to ask the bishops, what did you people discuss? Look at a press statement. And you say Onaekon should be mum, should be sworn to as eternity, should not account to the people. I think that they should know that bishops are not like politicians. Bishops speak from their loins about being the conscience of the nation.
All right, we have to go now. Thank you very much, Dr. Lemi Ogegbe, for coming on the program this morning. And have a great day out there.
Thank you.
Sincere condolences on the passing of your friend, too.
Thank you.
All right. Our co-reviewers on our YouTube channel, I have a whole lot of messages. I cannot take very many of them. Let me just take one or two here. Kunle Abundance says, sir, there's something wrong with borrowing when we cannot see any good with money borrowing. We need to see the effect of the borrowing, sir. Okay, thank you, Kunle Abundance. And Victor Okebata is asking why we are not talking about the terrorist attack in Enugu yesterday, where worshippers were abducted from the churches and some killed. Victor, it was one of the headlines that I took, but we had to just select a few to talk about. Also, looking at Oyinaya Uchenna says the opposition will not give expo to the ruling government. Remember what Bola Ahmed Tinubu said at Chatham's house. So many comments here. Eze Ebuka says Bishop Kuka is observing table manners. And Pascal Ekumere says the true bishop has spoken, not the fake bishop. Okay, so many, but I just had to take a few there. We'll come back after this break to begin with our first conversation. Stay with us.
Get ready for a bold new chapter in political discourse. The conversations that matter most are stepping into the spotlight like never before. Political platform, the hard-hitting, no-holds-barred program you have trusted on Ray Power Radio is making a powerful move to television. Tune in to Africa Independent Television, AIT, as political platform debuts on your screen, bringing deeper analysis, sharper debates, and the voices shaping our nation's future right into your screens. From policy and politics breakdowns to real-time discussions with key stakeholders, this is more than a program. It is where opinions are tested, truths are uncovered, and the people's voice is heard. Join seasoned hosts and expert guests as they tackle the issues that define our democracy. No filters, no distractions, just real talk. Political platform now on AIT, 9 to 10 a.m. every weekday. Stay informed, stay engaged, be part of the conversation.
In the hallowed chambers where laws are forged and a nation's destiny is decided.
This is your parliamentary program, Inside the Parliament on AIT.
Voices rise, opinions clash, debates ignite.
We cannot be apologetic in the discharge of our constitutional duties as lawmakers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The burden of proving that the elections have been conducted peacefully and in accordance with law must shift to INEC.
From the Senate to the House of Representatives, this is where policies are tested, laws are crafted, and authority is held to account.
We spoke to some lawmakers on their opinions of the document presented by the president.
Every motion, every argument carries the hopes of millions.
We need more hospitals, more health clinics in communities so that they can effectively take care of the primary health need of our people.
The questions are tough. The exchanges are intense.
Mr. President, you can have your way, but I will have my say. You can use the gavel, and I will use my voice.
And those who want the proviso are 55 in number. And so the proviso says,
but who truly stands for the people? Who is driving the change that defines our tomorrow?
Let us tell ourselves the truth. Why are we here talking about LGBT, GTBT, whatever?
Get the answers on Where Nigeria Decides on Inside the Parliament on AIT every Tuesday, 4:30 p.m. The stories now break online. Don't miss anything from our real-time updates and exclusive content. Follow and participate in discussions on live TV studio programs to shape the narratives. Subscribe, engage, and share from AIT.live at AIT_online on X, AIT Online on Facebook, Official AIT Live on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads on YouTube. Stay connected with AIT. On air, online, on live.
All right, you're still watching Kakaaki, the African Voice, this Monday morning, the 3rd day of August 2026. Time now to go into our very first conversation, talking about the matters arising from the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. At the beginning of the program, I told you that the issues arising from the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons are still here, and the activities are also still ongoing. And this time around, attention is being focused on criminal networks, groups, and individuals in the business of forced labor, sexual exploitation, child trafficking, and organ removal. These are the issues, some of them we'll be talking about now. I have joining me Joy Tomo. Joy is Program Officer of the Network Against Corruption and Trafficking. She's joined by Benjamin Ali, who is the Media Manager of the network. Good morning, lady and gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, now, Joy, let me start with you. A lot of people may not understand what how heavy this issue of trafficking in persons is across the world. How big a problem is it today?
So trafficking is a very big problem,
And what is trafficking? It is the recruitment of people through various means. It can be international trafficking, it can be domestic, and there are all forms to it. And in the last 20 years, NAPTIP has rescued, sorry, did I say 20? Sorry, in the last 10 years, NAPTIP has rescued over like 20,000 people, and that's just a statistic that does not cover all or everyone who has been trafficked. So that's just a number we're dealing with. There are so many underreported cases. And when people talk about trafficking, what comes to mind is that it is international most times, but there are various forms. I think you highlighted that. So there's domestic servitude, there's forced labor, and other shades of it. Now, the theme for this year is Trapped Behind the Scam. And it is so because trafficking has evolved over time. There are so many faces to it. There are so many tactics that have evolved over the years. So these are things that surround trafficking at this time.
Benjamin, it's not just about trafficking. When you look at recent developments, you see that trafficking has just not become, it's not just a menace, it's a booming business now. $billion business across the world. It's, from what we have, it's generated around $236 billion in illegal profits annually. What can you tell us about that?
Due to there's this get rich quick mindset from people by people from this part of the country, and also our economic situation is very obvious. So a lot of people do anything to make money, and they don't mind taking these risks, like going to other countries undocumented. They don't even care what they are going into. Some people even want to leave this country, even if it's for little change. They don't mind. They will just leave. They just want to leave the country, and they believe and it's greener out there. So that is why it's so easy to convince someone to be trafficked.
Two quick stories I want to bring to your attention this morning, Joy, which is part of my next question to you. Okay. On the news this morning, one of the items I read talked about migrants, illegal migrants from Morocco who crossed to the island of Ceuta. Many of them have gone back because they found out that what they thought or what they had been told was not what they found when they got to Ceuta. One, security was very tight. Two, it was very expensive to buy food. One person said he had not eaten for 3 days. He only survived on water. Second, there's a young lady who put a story on social media about a week ago, and she talked about how she was told there was a beautiful job waiting for her. She left her job here and got into a convoy with some people. Ostensibly, they told her she would travel by air, but she ended up in Libya by road. And somehow she found her way back and said it was a huge scam. So looking at those two stories, what these people were told before they left
is not what
depicts that it is a scam, and that's the theme for this year's celebration, Trapped Behind the Scam.
Yes, sir.
So what does it actually mean?
So trapped behind the scam means that traffickers have evolved different tactics, lies, and beautiful covers to attract people. Just like my colleague stated, the situation of the economy in the country has prompted a lot of people to want to look for greener pastures. And that's why they jump at any given opportunity. Just 2 weeks ago, someone met a colleague of mine. I was telling him that, she has gotten a job outside the country, that they paid for her passports, they've done everything. She just needs to pick her bag and start coming. And he's like, have you verified this? She said, that it's a boutique, that she's going to go and walk in, that everything is ready. So some of these things are what you might want to pay attention to, because why is it so easy? Why are they trying to get me my passport? Why are they telling me that they'll take care of all the bills? Like, it's too good to be true, and that's what so many Nigerians want to jump on. Now, one of the stories you have in our documentary, the lady was told that she's going to help her family, that she's not tired of suffering, and they told her, be very secretive about it, don't tell anybody. When you get there, you get a lot of money, and then when you come back, you'll surprise your parents. That's what they told her, and she's just a young girl. So she bought into it, because really, at that time, things were not going on well for her family. So she bought into it, and she's like, okay, I'll be the savior of my family. And then she got trapped in the scam, literally.
savior of the family. The secrecy, like Joy said, looks too good to be true. If it looks too good to be true, it's probably not true, because it's just too good. Now, looking at the way these schemes are framed by these people, it's apparent that the level of sophistication has grown. It's higher now. And I'm wondering, how are the authorities able to cope with the ever-increasing schemes that these people come up with?
Well, the thing is, the authorities need to pay attention. They need to pay keen attention to things that are happening and these schemes, because every day, and I also want to note this: trafficking is not just trafficking in persons. Will not just be maybe for exploitation. They also some people they traffic these victims and use them as carriers. They use them to carry drugs. They use them to carry contrabands as well. So and like, okay, in other parts of Africa, like there's this booming gold mine, there's this booming gold mine surge in other parts of Africa, and there's a need for cheap labor. Aside cheap labor, they also need to satisfy these miners. They need to satisfy these miners, and the only thing that will keep these miners in those gold mines is when they have the satisfaction at hand. So they don't have to.
What kind of satisfaction are you talking about?
It's a sexual satisfaction.
So this is going into sexual exploitation.
Exactly. So they will traffic anybody. They will traffic anybody they can find, as long as they are taking them to these gold mines to satisfy them. Like weeks ago, there was this case in Mali, where the lady was recording herself and exposing the camp where they were. She said they were close to a gold mine, and she said everyone there were foreigners. All the ladies there were foreigners. She showed the condition. She showed where they were staying at. They were staying in those bachas made out of leather bags. That's where they were staying, and they would work there to make money from those miners who are also there for cheap labor, because it's cheap labor they cannot afford. So they rather traffic these girls in to those camps to be able to keep them and then satisfy them. So that is why there are new tricks every day. And
new tricks every day. And we're seeing this flow into different branches. There's forced labor, there's sexual exploitation, there's child trafficking, there's organ harvesting and trafficking too. So how much of a problem, especially I'm very concerned about child trafficking and organ harvesting and trafficking as well. How bad is the situation right now?
It is very bad. For child trafficking, I'll tell you why it is very bad. I'll still make reference to the situation of the economy. Now, if you go to some villages, let me just say, for example, let me use Jos. You tell the parents...
Jos is not a village, by the way.
I'm sorry, just as a...
Don't mind me,
Yes. So some villages in Jos, you go to them and tell them, oh, we want a house help. They will give the child straight away because they feel like the child is going to make money or the child will be sending money. And they do not know that this is a form of trafficking. Now, when those children even come to the city, in quotes, they feel like, oh, their children are going to go to school and while they work, but that's not the case for most of these children. They come here and they suffer, they are beaten badly. There was the case of the woman that beat that very small boy, blue-black, that she even puts candle wax on his body. I don't know if anyone came across it, but...
I read similar stories of a woman who burnt a little boy with a hot iron on his back, and one that beats another child with a machete.
Yes, so these are forms of trafficking, but people do not know. They just feel like, okay, they are giving out their children and they are making money. Now, we went for an intervention in Kabusa. This is also like very prominent in that particular part of Abuja, because they come there, they pick little children and say, oh, they're going to work as house help, they'll go to school, but they are all lies. Most of the times, these children suffer, some even die. There are untold stories to these things. Another form of child trafficking is the one where they bring women together, they have people that's baby factory. That's another form of it that we're not even talking about now. Another form of trafficking, I know you mentioned organ harvesting. There was a case that happened, I think in Maraba, where they trafficked a guy from there and they took one of his kidneys. Yes. So these things are happening. Even when they traffic people internationally, they still give them hints that, oh, this is what you get, but you're going to be rewarded handsomely. People do not know the dangers that are tied to this, so they just go. Now, for people who do not even know that they are being trafficked for their organs to be harvested, they are also given very juicy opportunities too, and say, oh, when you get there, this. But when they are trafficked, they take their organs without even informing them.
And I feel like some people also know that they're getting trafficked, as long as they feel like the money they're going to get from it.
The money is worth it.
Yes, they feel like
some do not even know. There was a story of someone that went for a surgery. They said it was a surgery, that she had fibroid or something. They took her kidney. She did not know. It was after a while she started having some complications. She went to the hospital and they told her that she has one kidney. So she never knew that was what happened. And when everything was tracked and traced, they found out that particular facility does that to a lot of people.
So the way you have described these things now, I'd like to know, Benjamin, can you run us through what an average trafficked person is likely to go through? Because it's amazing how people get taken in by these stories, these promises of a better future, plenty of money, you can now come and become the breadwinner of your family, you can surprise your parents and all of that.
Well, I would want to say this, the grass is not greener on the other side. It's greener when you water it. So a lot of people, let's say for child trafficking, we need to sensitize parents. We need to make them aware that giving your children out is not giving your children out maybe for labor, for cheap labor, or maybe maybe someone comes to you and say, maybe in our society, let's say in the rural areas, a lot of families with let's say they'll have 6 to 10 children and they can't really cater for all of them. They can't take all of them to school, so they ask them. People come to them and say, okay, give me your kid, I'll train your kid in school. And so they easily give their kids out. So we have to sensitize them and tell them giving your kid out or your ward out to someone who maybe a total stranger is not ideal. We need to. That's why we made this documentary. We also want to sensitize people to let them know that giving let's say giving your kid out to a total stranger is not ideal. Yeah.
Okay, you really haven't hit the spot I wanted you to hit, because I recall speaking to a friend of mine who is also a journalist who publishes a travel magazine, and he actually embarked on a trip across the Sahara Desert till he got to Spain. He won an award for that story, actually, but that was many years ago. And it seems like the reality of the experience that people go through, what people go through on these journeys doesn't really register in the minds of Nigerians. And I'd like us to talk about it. Joy, what does the average human trafficking victim go through, especially those who are taken through that Sahara Desert route to Europe and to other parts of the world?
So it's quite a harrowing experience for most of them, because they never expected what they went through. So for some, you have the trauma of passing through the Sahara first. They watch other people die, because in the Sahara Desert, they go through starvation, they do not have water to drink. So one of the survivors even told us they had to drink their urine. That's traumatic enough. She said some people died on the way and they had to bury them. That's another trauma. Then when they finally get to their destination, they are made to sleep with 15 people a day. And they are not, the money that they even get...
You didn't say men, you said people.
Sorry.
No, I'm trying to get to something here because sexual trafficking is not just about heterosexual sex, really.
Yeah.
And I'm imagining in my head when you said 15 people.
Okay. So it's actually both ways. Females go through that, even males, but I think for the males, more of what they go through, some of the areas which some of the areas that they actually experience theirs is some are being locked up to do yahoo. That's another aspect of it.
Those are scam compounds.
Internet fraud,
Internet fraud compounds.
Yes, some are locked up to do that. Then some men are actually forced to have sexual intercourse with men as well. So, but for, like, I'm making reference to one of the stories on our documentary, the lady said she's made to sleep with 15 men a day. And in as much as she does that, the money does not come to her. It goes to her madam that she has to pay back, because some of them, when they get it, they tell them that they are owing 3 million, 4 million, so they have to work hard for that money. So the harrowing experience of all of this sticks to them, and it's something that takes a long time, rehabilitation, for them to get through out of it. Now, some of them are also exposed to substance abuse because they have to keep up with that activity every day. So you have someone who is back, a survivor, but is now a drug addict, still now maybe addicted to sexual activities, or now suffering from a sexually transmitted disease. So these are some things that a survivor likely has to deal with when they are back.
But how do you educate parents about these things? Because I remember about some 2-3 months ago discussing with someone who told me that there are associations of mothers who come together to boast that my daughter is in Italy, she has done this, she has done that, what has your own daughter done? And they've seen this as a thing of pride. How do you educate parents to work hard to stop their children from going through this experience, Benjamin?
I think one of the steps to take is to enlighten them of this harrowing experience, because most of them do not even see, they don't get to know about all this. They only know about, they only know of the success stories. They don't know what these victims or these persons went through to become who they are. There are some success stories where maybe these victims, after going through all of that, they gain their freedom, because while they go into all these sexual activities and exploitation, some of them, they pay off the money, because when someone is being trafficked, there's a fee on the person, and you have to walk to you. Maybe if it's 11 million, when I get my 11 million, I let you go. So they are, but we have to enlighten parents and let them know of these harrowing experiences that these victims or these survivors go through.
Now, Joy, how are organizations like yours helping the authorities? In Nigeria, we have NAPTIP, and they are doing quite a lot. Just, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we had the Director Enlightenment Department of NAPTIP here with us, just ahead of the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. And she told us how much NAPTIP is doing, which seems to lend credence to the fact that these practices are so widespread that government agencies are also, they're up to their neck in work. So how are agencies like, organizations like yours helping?
So NAPTIP cannot do the work alone, and that's why we're working together, all CSOs, non-profit organizations, to help. And what we do on our end, like for us at the Network Against Corruption and Trafficking, we do a lot of enlightenment. We also create awareness. We go to the grassroots. So that's why we came up with the documentary, and the documentary is meant to go to the vulnerable communities where these things are prevalent.
In what language is the documentary?
We're going to...
So it's in English, but why I said we're working together is when we had our private screening, most organizations volunteered. Some volunteered to say, oh, I'll source for communities where we can go to. Others said, I would like to do a translation in Yoruba. So we are currently at that stage where we're translating the documentaries to different languages so that we can go deep into the communities and we ensure that no one is left behind. The message gets across to everyone. And in the development space, that's why we collaborate a lot. Our CSO cannot do it alone. We need other people people to push the message far and wider.
All right, we do hope that the message is pushed further, and that's part of what we're doing here, pushing the frontiers of the message against trafficking. And we thank you very much, Joy and Benjamin, for coming to talk to us this morning. We've been talking about the World Day Against Trafficking, the matters arising from that, with Joy Tomo, who's the Program Officer of the Network Against Corruption and Trafficking, and the Media Manager of that network, Benjamin Ali. Once again, thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back after the break when it will be Kakaaki Social O'Clock.
Gender Agenda is where policy meets people. It's a bold policy literacy platform bridging the gap between decision makers and women across every sector. From parliament to politics, from leadership to governance, from peace to economy, development, human rights, from Nigeria to the rest of Africa, Gender Agenda amplifies voices too often excluded, ensuring every voice counts. Through compelling storytelling, social impact dialogue, thought-provoking documentaries, town halls that lean on data and research, we raise the bar. Gender Agenda, every Friday, 4:30 p.m. on AIT and on AIT's YouTube channel live.
My name is Adora Sydney Jack, and this is Gender Agenda.
Gender Agenda. Women.
For nearly 3 decades, you trusted us with the story of our nation and beyond. Now, our political program gets a powerful upgrade. Welcome to the all-new Democracy Today Extra. We're shifting the gears of political broadcasting. No scripts, no spin, just the uncompromising truth.
Is there true democracy in political parties in Nigeria?
Adiza, why are we so obsessed with whether governors will use police against their opponents or even the president? Why?
Get ready. In-depth, no-holds-barred interviews.
Reserve seats, when it eventually comes to stay, is not the destination.
How do we safeguard the will of the people?
If a governor wants to intimidate you with the current police that we have, they will intimidate you. They don't need state police to intimidate anybody.
Fearless analysis, unfiltered facts.
The legislature is the fulcrum upon which democracy evolves.
We're beaming the ultimate searchlight on political actors, holding power accountable every single weekend. 10 p.m. Nigerian time on Saturdays and Sundays. Bold, analytical, uncompromising. Democracy Today Extra.
Gender Agenda is where policy meets people. It's a bold policy literacy platform bridging the gap between decision makers and women across every sector. From parliament to politics, from leadership to governance, from peace to economy, development, human rights, from Nigeria to the rest of Africa, Gender Agenda amplifies voices too often excluded, ensuring every voice counts. Through compelling storytelling, social impact dialogue, thought-provoking documentaries, town halls that lean on data and research, we raise the bar. Gender Agenda, every Friday, 4:30 p.m. on AIT and on AIT's YouTube channel live.
My name is Adora Sydney Jack, and this is Gender Agenda.
Gender Agenda. Women rising.
In the hallowed chambers where laws are forged and a nation's destiny is decided.
This is your parliamentary program, Inside the Parliament on AIT.
Voices rise, opinions clash, debates ignite.
We cannot be apologetic in the discharge of our constitutional duties as lawmakers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The burden of proving that the elections have been conducted peacefully and in accordance with law must shift to INEC.
From the Senate to the House of Representatives, this is where policies are tested, laws are crafted, and authority is held to account.
We spoke to some lawmakers on their opinions of the document presented by the president.
Every motion, every argument carries the hopes of millions.
We need more hospitals, more health clinics in communities so that they can effectively take care of the primary health need of our people.
The questions are tough. The exchanges are intense.
Mr. President, you can have your way, but I will have my say. You can use the gavel, and I will use my voice.
And those who want the proviso are 55 in number. And so the proviso says,
but who truly stands for the people? Who is driving the change that defines our tomorrow?
Let us tell ourselves the truth. Why are we here talking about LGBT, GTBT, whatever?
Get the answers on Where Nigeria Decides on Inside the Parliament on AIT every Tuesday, 4:30 p.m.
Hello everyone, good morning to you. This is Kakaaki Social. I am Onosho Rena Obozege. You're welcome to a new week. On a sad note, that's where we start this morning, where 27 victims of the deadly attack on Naridon village in southern Kaduna have been laid to rest. The mass burial was conducted by the Catholic Diocese of Kafanchan on Saturday, with Bishop Julius Yakubu Kundi lamenting that the victims had failed by those responsible for protecting them. The 27 were among 30 killed when gunmen attacked the community in Kauru local government area on July 26. Now, as the community mourns, another Catholic community in Enugu State has come under attack. Gunmen invaded St. Joseph Catholic Church in Afa in Udi local government area during preparation for Sunday service just yesterday, August 2nd. 3 people were initially abducted, including seminarian Lawrence Chidera Igbo, a catechist, and another worshipper identified simply as Emmanuel. Police say one victim was later rescued unhurt, while efforts continue to secure the release of the remaining 2. Now let's just take natural sound from Enugu State, and then we'll come back to what you think of this.
Waɗanda baƙin cikinsu sai waɗanda sun taɓa.
All right, let's see how you're reacting to this. Amarachi Eze says 27 coffins, including children. My eyes have seen enough. Yet somebody go see open mouth say security, they improve. These leaders to Fiakwa. From Amarachi Eze, we go to another user coming from X. Prince Oludare says, every life lost to violence is a painful reminder that insecurity remains one of Nigeria's deepest challenges. These were not just numbers in the report. They were parents, children, farmers, neighbors, and members of a community with dreams and families. Beyond mourning, there must be a renewed commitment to protecting vulnerable communities, bringing perpetrators to justice, and ensuring that citizens can live and work without fear. More thought to this one. Stoney says, to plan long-term in Nigeria keeps getting harder. You don't even know when insecurity will hit you. Maybe you plan regardless. Final thought to come from Nedu Ane. It says Catholic Church in southern Kaduna buried over 27 people today. A Catholic church was involved in Enugu today during the Holy Mass, and both the seminarian and others were kidnapped. An Anglican priest and others were kidnapped in Ezeagu, Enugu State, some days ago, and they have not been released yet. Catholic priests are being kidnapped and slaughtered like a lamb in both Kaduna and many parts of Arewa North. John Cardinal Onayekon, a distinguished leader and cardinal of the Catholic Church, is speaking up over all the atrocities, and the government wants to shut him up. Now, talking about the cardinal, Archbishop Emeritus Cardinal John Onaiyekan has opened up on the meeting between President Bola Tinubu and members of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria. If we could go back to the presidential villa to bring that video. Thank you. He said the bishop gave the president a frank assessment of Nigeria's economic and social challenges, particularly the hardship facing poor Nigerians. According to him, President Tinubu was clearly displeased with their message and disagreed with their assessment, insisting that the economy was doing fine and that the country was not in any crisis. You would remember that it was from this same meeting the president said, well, hunger existed even before he was born.
There are so many people hanging around Mr. President, giving him a rosy picture of what the country is, which it is not. And we felt that we have no duty to do that. Indeed, we have the obligation to help him to appreciate the reality of the situation in which we find ourselves. And that is the reality that we painted, which I know is not the kind of thing that he wanted to hear. When the nation is bleeding, you can't expect a polite meeting with the head of state. We need to let him know. And his reply is that the nation is not bleeding. We told him our economy is not helping our poor people. He told us the economy is doing fine. Practically speaking, he told us quite clearly that he did not agree with us. Again, I said, we're not surprised. We didn't expect him to agree with us. We have done our duty. We have delivered our message. And we have a feeling that somehow, along the line, somebody will show him a few of the things we see.
All right, let's see how you're reacting to this. Bayo Onanuga, we start from the presidency, who had shared his colleague's post, Temitokpe Ajayi. He says, Cardinal Onayekan's abuse of clerical privilege. There is something fundamentally inappropriate about Cardinal John Onayekan granting a television interview to offer his own account and interpretation of what transpired during the private meeting between the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria and President Bola Tinubu. It is, in my view, an abuse of clerical privilege. That's the first paragraph of what Onanuga and his colleague would say. Harry Dar says, this is an appreciation post for Cardinal John Olorunfemi Onayekan. The youth will remember the role you continued to play in making Nigeria work even at the age of 82. Hamlet says, and the worst thing here is these Catholic bishops don't have wives nor children. They have all submitted themselves to the Holy Church and nothing moves them again. They are not general overseers who are running churches and may be needing government's favor in their business. Of course, you can't even bribe them. The Catholic bishops are contented with what the church gives them. Their only care is the welfare of the general public. I really do understand the reason behind the meltdown in the village, talking about Villa 2, in the Villa rather. Alvin says the Villa has been receiving praises from every other visit, be it business moguls, politicians, celebrities, etc. This is the first time a group is visiting and coming to tell Nigerians the actual truth of what they saw. A president that is no longer concerned with the situation of the country, but rather believing all is well. I like how the Villa has been unsettled since that visit. All right. Mylene Limited says, the APC government deeply offended many members of the Catholic community the day it allegedly presented fake bishops. For many Catholics, that incident was seen as a serious act of disrespect towards the church. From that moment, the government lost a great deal of respect. That's how this user would react to that. All right. The credentials of presidential candidates ahead of the 2027 elections are already generating debate and reactions following the disclosure of their academic records by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. President Bola Tinubu's credentials, in particular, have attracted attention, and his Form EC9 list, his university qualification from Chicago State University, but leaves the sections for primary and secondary education empty. The disclosure has renewed public discussions over the academic history submitted by the presidential candidate as the 2027 general elections draw closer. On his rival, one of his rivals, Atiku Abubakar of the ADC, whose credentials were also fouled out, has reacted to this and is asking, how can that happen? What kind of a country is this? Well, let me have you listen to Atiku.
And you look at the president form, primary school, nil. Secondary school, nil. Then university graduate. How? How? This is what is presently in the file of INEC of our current president. How? What kind of a country is this?
All right, let me run you through the page that is generating reaction to this. Is of course the part C of it, schools attended, educational qualification with dates. That's all of that before this have been published. So this is for the president, Bola Tinubu, who again is the presidential candidate of the APC for 2027. School qualification year. For primary school, you'd see there it's blank. He didn't feel, we can't conclude that he didn't go, but he did not feel anything there. So the year is 0000, I'm not sure what year that is. Secondary as well, same thing. He attended none according to this 0000 year. Then we now come to higher institution. He got a BSc in 1979, and that's what netizens are also reacting to. Let me bring you in now and see what you have said in reaction to the debate about qualification yet again. Onye Ozimbu says, take it or leave it. Tinubu's media persons, representatives are suffering, if not for the amount they are paid. How can you jump primary and secondary to university and no one sees anything wrong with it? Okay. They have opened door for others to do same. For the record, same people will oppose another who does same, reacting to one of the eights already saying, well, that's no big deal. Daniel says, but the Constitution states clearly that an aspirant should be educated up to at least school certificate level or its qualification or its equivalent. And so, what's the beef with it? Okay. For Chike, it says, which document did Tinubu use to obtain admission into Chicago University? Or he was just admitted with empty papers? Questions from Chike. Away from Chike, Karu says, how can your education start from BSc? What kind of fraudulent behavior is this? Your life cannot start from Chicago. It was once Government College, Lagos, but the Chicago resort exposed him for claiming to go to a school before it was founded. That's what Kari said in reaction to this one. Well, reactions are also existing and trailing the Renewed Hope campaign, with videos circulating online showing food items being shared at an official campaign event, alongside a video of branded mobile phones given to attendees. The development expectedly has sparked reactions, with some Nigerians questioning whether such handouts are what citizens need, especially as the country heads towards the 2027 general election. All right, this is just it right there. That user could unlock that phone, and what he saw, the phone is branded in its interior as well. This is a Basil Crypto says, as you are selling your future and that of your children in exchange for a bag of rice, don't complain when the hunger hits you hard. Make sure you manage it till 4 years' time. Postcode says you expect them not to take. Politicians are Nigerians, and many Nigerians are still trying to be in politics. It's same people, same mindset, same thinking. Just give them little chance and see the same result. From Postcode, we go to the greatest. It says, please collect anything they give you. But remember, they want to use it to deceive you to vote for them for another 4 years. Then they will resume punishing you with hunger and worse economic collapse. So please, don't be deceived. Collect the goodies and vote them out. Oni says, when you hungry, okay, this is Pigeon. Calm down right now. Now reacting to the phone, he says, when you hungry, cook and chop. When you want pay rent, use and pay. Until it finish. When units finish, use and recharge. When you sick, use and pay hospital bill. When going out, use it as transport fare. The list is endless. Just use and do waiting your brain tell you say if you do. That's the phone right there. Now away from that, a viral video is generating reactions after a husband confronted his wife at an August meeting in Enugu State over their sick son, who he said was receiving treatment in a hospital. In the video, the man is questioning why his wife was attending the gathering instead of being with their child, amid claims that she had earlier indicated that she was at the hospital. It looked like a drama or even some content, but a lady who claims she's the man's sister has verified the event to be no content.
I am shameless.
What is this? The one who you should have waited for her to come home.
All right, so that has been Kakaaki Social. And the General Overseer and lead pastor, of course, of Winners Chapel, Living Faith, has been reacting to this as well. And just yesterday in the service, he has frowned at insecurity and the killings going on across Nigeria. And he says, I cannot pray for you if you are killing my family members. We'll take that video right now.
You can't slaughter members of my family and want me to pray for you. I pray against you, against your household, against your generation. In the name of Jesus. The bubble is burst. Because, can I tell you this? Everybody knows that these wicked people are being sponsored. Anyone doesn't know that that's a problem. Hameko Kakeke, and Krakatanoa. Every sponsor of killers in Nigeria, you come under a curse today. Everyone trading with the lives of men in the name of ransom. The curse of the Lord hits you today.
All right, everyone. Thanks a bunch for being a part of Kakaaki Social this Monday morning. I'm Rena Obio, and we are AIT_online. Kunle will be back for the remaining hour and time on the program. I'll see you tomorrow.
Kakaaki, unwrap joy, unleash taste.
Excuse
Excuse me, ma. This is your 100% year.
Babes, are you sure you want to spend this much on hair? Didn't your landlord just increase rent?
I saved for this one separately on money points.
Ma, you say you save on money points?
Yes.
This madam money points here. The array of your dryer there is target savings money points I used to have it. The rest of this my sub is fees savings money points I used to do it. The salary of this my staff is save as you transact, son.
Jennifer, money point save as you transact. Money point fixed savings and money point target savings.
Why did German won't contribute to it? Why should they? Come on, oh, you go give your money to Hadaku to save. You see money points accounts there. You know go open a savings account. Now Hadaku you choose. I beg everybody inside this my saloon. Oh, yeah, bring out your phone and download the money points app now. Even you. What are you waiting for?
Download the Money Point banking app now and start saving with the bank you can trust.
Money Point, made for your progress.
The Delta State government invites business leaders, global investors, policymakers, and industry captains to the Delta State Economic and Investment Summit 2026, themed Harnessing Our Strengths and Unlocking Our Potentials. Chief guest of honor, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Kashim Shettima, GCON. Keynote speaker, Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, GCON. Guest speaker, renowned scholar, Professor Patrick Lumumba. Chairman of the occasion, Engineer Austin Avuru. Other distinguished local and international participants will also be in attendance. Date, August 3 to 5, 2026. Time, 10 a.m. daily. Venue, Dome Event Center, Asaba. Chief host, His Excellency, Right Honorable Sheriff Obrewori, Governor, Delta State. Announcer, Dr. Kingsley Emu, Secretary to Delta State Government and Chairman Planning Committee.
Get ready for a bold new chapter in political discourse. The conversations that matter most are stepping into the spotlight like never before. Political platform, the hard-hitting, no-holds-barred program you have trusted on Ray Power Radio is making a powerful move to television. Tune in to Africa Independent Television, AIT, as political platform debuts on your screen, bringing deeper analysis, sharper debates, and the voices shaping our nation's future right into your screens. From policy and politics breakdowns to real-time discussions with key stakeholders, this is more than a program. It is where opinions are tested, truths are uncovered, and the people's voice is heard. Join seasoned hosts and expert guests as they tackle the issues that define our democracy. No filters, no distractions, just real talk. Political platform now on AIT, 9 to 10 a.m. every weekday. Stay informed, stay engaged, be part of the conversation.
Excuse me, ma. This is your 100% year.
Babes, are you sure you want to spend this much on hair? Didn't your landlord just increase rent? I saved for this one separately on money points.
Ma, you say you save on money points?
Yes.
This madam money points here. The array of your dryer there is target savings money points I used to have it. The rest of this my sub is fees savings money points I used to do it. The salary of this my staff is save as you transact, son.
Jennifer, money point save as you transact. Money point fixed savings and money point target savings.
Why did German won't contribute to it? Why should they? Come on, oh, you go give your money to Hadaku to save. You see money points accounts there. You know go open a savings account. Now Hadaku you choose. I beg everybody inside this my saloon. Oh, yeah, bring out your phone and download the money points app now. Even you. What are you waiting for?
Download the Money Point banking app now and start saving with the bank you can trust.
Money Point, made for your progress.
And the best student in basic digital literacy is Jadin Okoro. Very good. And the best student in kinesthetics is Jamil Lawal. The best student in robotics is Tiara Kolawole.
That's my dad! Hey! That's my guy!
This award goes to the most punctual student of the entire school. And the winner is Lisa Solomon.
Something is telling me that she makes her daughter skip breakfast just to be here.
You people could have just asked. I would have been happy to tell you my secret.
Enjoy instant goodness with John Vent's 3-in-1 chocolate. The quickest start to your morning.
All right, thank you very much for staying with us. You are watching Kakaaki, the African Voice, this Monday morning. It's the 3rd of August, 2026, the very first edition of the month on this program. So let's talk about food now. When people measure the performance of government, one of the things they look at is food. How secure are Nigerians when you talk about food? And that's been one of the things that critics of the Tinubu administration have talked about when they talk about, oh, the macro is looking good, but what about the micro? Food is expensive and all of that. But there is one item that very many people do not even see, and that is the fact that Nigeria produces a lot of food, but up to 40 million tons, metric tons of that food is wasted annually. For people who travel by road, especially through places like Kogi State, Benue State, and a lot of other agrarian states, you see plenty of food rotting by the road, waiting for transportation. Blaming on the Strait of Hormuz being blocked by Iran and the US tussling over whatever it is. But then, the food we produce, how do we preserve it? That is the crux of the matter for this morning. Nigeria's food insecurity, poor storage, and the huge shortage that ends up on the tables of Nigerians, because the shortage is there. When you want to eat, it's not enough. And sometimes you have to do 010 or 101. I don't know what formula you adopt, but very many people skip breakfast and eat just a fair-sized lunch and then something small for dinner. So let's talk about Nigeria's food security issues now, or should I say food insecurity, poor storage, and the shortage of storage facilities in Nigeria. I'm joined here in the studio by Kabir Ibrahim, who is the president of the Nigeria Agri-Business Group. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Also, I have joining us virtually Azubike Nwokoye, who is a food system specialist. Good morning. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning.
Okay.
Good morning to viewers.
Okay, great. Now, Nigeria reportedly, I'm starting with you, sir. Nigeria reportedly loses roughly between 30 to 40 million metric tons of food every year due to poor post-harvest storage, underutilization of silos by the government. And when you take a look at that, that's a lot of food that gets spoiled every year. How long have we had this problem?
Well, it's been there for a very long time, post-harvest loss. But the quantum you are mentioning is a bit ambitious. But, you know, we can safely say in some cases we get 40% loss due to post-harvest. In other cases, it goes to even 70%, like in vegetables, like tomato and things like that. And the post-harvest loss has been a factor in the attainment of food security in Nigeria for a very long time. There are many, many enabling environments for that to happen. Yes, we have dry storages. You know, there was a deliberate effort from 2008 to 2010 when, in trying to do what was prescribed by CADEP, NAPAD, we decided to build silos and storages and even community houses. All across Nigeria, we had an ambitious storage capacity of 1.3 million metric tons. Things that are superfluous to what we need are kept in the storages and brought out when there are stresses in the food system. But that did not include cold storage. We must also have cold storage. Some of these things that go bad, even beef, when you take it, or when you take a live animal from Faskarima village to Lagos, by the time it arrives Lagos, it's bones. The best way is to be able to transport this product in a frozen state and it should arrive at the destination place of use seamlessly for it not to go bad. The same thing would happen if you transport tomato, for instance, from Jos to Lagos. If the vehicle breaks down around Lokojang, it might arrive there spoiled. Same thing with oranges, same thing with every vegetable you see. So the problem is enormous. A lot of effort has been put in place to be able to do this, but essentially we must work on our energy, we must work on our distribution, we must work on our value addition to be able to really, reduce this post-harvest loss. It happens everywhere in the world, but the quantum is very high in Nigeria. 40 million metric tons annually is a bit large, because what do you know the population of this country today? We have a problem with data, but it is quite impactful. The loss that we have is impactful when you view it against the background of that Nigeria, we have about 230 million people now, still counting. In about 24 years, we would be almost 400 million. Therefore, we must do something on post-harvest loss. And I can tell you, in the last AFS in Senegal, Nigeria came up with an idea, I think is going to be supported by GIZ. Post-harvest loss in Nigeria is in the region of $10 billion. And
annually?
Annually. Then Nigeria is thinking in terms of, pulling resources from private sector, from development partners, from government, to be able to see if this can be reduced. This is an effort that you should be given a lot of, attention to, because we must reduce it. If you go to the farmers market here in Abuja, you find a lot of food items being sold. But the thing is that you have alluded to the fact that Nigerians do 101 or 001 or 010 and things like that. It is also a manifestation of the low purchasing power of the people. And this is general, but it's not post-harvest loss that brought it. It's other economic indices that brought it. When they tell you, a man on the street, when they tell you the economy is growing, the person will tell you that I have not eaten. As far as I'm concerned, it's not growing. It is in fact contracting. So when you look at these issues, globally in Nigeria, you find that a lot more work has to be done to be able to really to be equitable, to have prosperity across the board. You don't have a population of 200. If you have 230 million people, and maybe 133 million of them are poor or even in abject poverty, of course the summary is that this country is poor.
Okay.
But we have no reason to be that in Nigeria. We have oil.
Let me ask you to hold a thought, because there's so much that you are going to talk about. But let me go to Azubike, who is also listening to us. Azubike, you've been listening intently to the conversation here, and you are a food system specialist. I'd like to ask you, how did we arrive at this point where poor storage leads to such horrendous losses annually in Nigeria?
Okay, so in terms of how we arrived here, what has happened over the years is that both the federal and state governments have continued to put small budgetary allocation and small releases into the agriculture sector. And it means if you're not investing, so over the years, federal and state governments have treated the agriculture sector as expenditure rather than an investment. And this is what has brought us to where we are currently. And so in terms of financial value, it is estimated that these losses are about 3.5 trillion naira per annum. And we have also demonstrated to states that this 3.5 trillion, if you share it equally across 30 states and the federal capital territory, is about 94.5 billion naira per state. And no state is putting so much in agriculture to that level. And we've just done a recent dashboard covering 2023 to 2025 to show government that, look, in agriculture, you cannot put money this year and not put money the following year. It has to be consistent. For you to have growth, it has to be consistent. And also, we have not invested in rural infrastructure. We have not invested in rural infrastructure in terms of cottage processing facilities to reduce those post-harvest losses. So we, as a country, we need to invest in post-harvest losses. We need to ensure that we invest in post-harvest losses to reduce because it has to come in terms of sorry, there's a background noise.
No, please just go ahead. We can hear you and it's clear here. Azubike, can you hear me?
Yes.
Please just go ahead.
Okay, so investment has to be across the value chain. You know, processing and storage has to happen a lot. And it should be community-based. It should be cottage industry-based. It should be small processing and storage facilities owned by cooperatives, you know, and it should be supported with renewable energy. You know, investment in the sector is low, but even with the small investment in the sector, if we are strategic, we can actually address this issue. So imagine every state able to save even half of the 94.5 billion per annum in terms of post-harvest losses through their investments in rural storage and processing facilities, you know, and pushing it into the market. Because to tell you the truth, the government silos, they are big, but the logistics to even mop up is a problem. So if we are talking about government investment, it shouldn't be in the big silos only. It should be more community-based, rural-based, you know, because some communities, you can find out that when you get to some communities, they are suffering a lot of post-harvest losses because of even the road to move out the produce. So investments needs to be targeted, and this has to go with extension services. This has to go with access to credit. You know, in terms of formal access to credit in Nigeria for smallholder women farmers is less than 23% across Nigeria, across the CCS and FCT. So investments need to be targeted.
Okay. Azubike, please hold on. Let me come back to Alhaji Kabiru here in the studio. He's talked a whole lot about the value chain and the things that need to be done. And I'm thinking here that in the First Republic, there were marketing boards that harnessed the agricultural produce in Nigeria. In the north, we had the groundnut pyramids. In the southwest, we had the cocoa, the cola nuts, and all of that. Each of the regions were able to harness agricultural produce even before oil became a thing in Nigeria. Is there something that Nigeria can borrow from the past in order to be able to correct the imbalances that we have now across the entire value chain?
The thing that we must do is to look at regional competencies, optimize the production of those things that are staples. Off the set, you are talking about eating amala. If a person is used to taking amala maybe 4 times in a week and you tell them to take rice, they will probably tell you that rice is not food. I am saying this because even as a youth copper in Owerri in 1983, I would go to a restaurant and ask for food. They would tell me there was no food, but there was rice. So in the 6 geopolitical zones that we have, they are identified staples. We should be able to optimize the production of those staples in those regions for us to have food security globally in Nigeria. 2, the issue of groundnut pyramids and all that, it's because we were selling what we had in its primary form. What we must encourage is to be able to add value to those
value addition
here, so that we needn't sell anything in its primary form. In fact, all the donor organizations that come to Nigeria, development partners and all that, and I've seen a lot of them over 25 years in this business, to tell you the truth, they are telling us to scale so that we produce optimally to enable them take this to their countries and add value and sell back to us at very high prices. You are from the southwest, maybe you know what is happening to cocoa. If you take cocoa in its raw form, you sell to people and they bring chocolates and other products and you pay through your nose. Some countries in the world, very small countries, take the Netherlands for instance, is the biggest exporter of cocoa beans, and there is not a single cocoa tree in the Netherlands. They buy cocoa seeds from here, add value to them and sell to the world, and they make good money. That is agribusiness. Nigeria, because of its place in Africa and through AFTA, can really harness all these possibilities. We don't have to have a reenactment of these pyramids and all that to be able to really look self-sufficient and become food secure. But if we invest deliberately in the sectors that matter, i.e., I will tell you this, you see the Chinese that come into this country with big companies and all that. Even Turkish people come into big countries, big companies, like if you look at Vento, you look at the restaurants, most of them are coming with soft money from their countries. In Nigeria, tell me one entrepreneur that was assisted by government support to scale their productivity. By scaling the productivity, they will be able to generate wealth and employment for the teeming number of people who are roaming the streets and looking for other jobs. If you do that and we assist those people, give them energy, give them alternative energy, give them everything, create the right kind of enabling environment, we don't need to have pyramids, because all the groundnut that is produced, we can add value to it and sell the products to the market in Africa, which is one market through AFTA. So the pathway to prosperity for Nigeria is open. It's up to us to really take advantage of it. The numbers that are being bandied, in terms of every state having post-harvest loss of 94 billion and all that, and governments in those regions should reinvest to make sure that that is reduced and all that, is germane. But if you go through the private sector, the model that we are proposing, that you should help the people in the private sector or incentivize them to be able to invest properly, to do value addition, this loss will be reduced. So the states will not have to carry the burden of 94 billion, for instance, a piece. When you multiply that by 36, is a lot of money. What is our budget? What can we do? We can't rely on government to do it, certainly.
Okay, let's find out from Azubike how this works elsewhere. Azubike, I'm sure you listened carefully, and I'm wondering, there are countries across the world who, when you look at, in terms of food sufficiency, you begin to ask yourself, how do they manage it? That other services may be expensive, but food is relatively cheap.
Yeah, so what has happened in those countries is government deliberate investment. So if you check the US government reports, you find out that I think in December last year or the other year, their Senate and House had to reconvene quickly to sign off how many $1 billion subsidy to the farmers. So we need to, yes, private sector, but government needs to create the enabling environment. So if you say private sector, in fact, the main private sector in Nigeria are the smallholder farmers. Because if you put their population together without government support, we would have been worse off than this. So if access to credit is cheap and easy, then it's an enabling environment, and government has to do that through the Bank of Agriculture and other facilities. It has to be cheap and easy for smallholder farmers. For rural people, community people should be able to, walk into a bank and get a facility easily. You know, credit shouldn't be that hard. So government has to create the enabling environment, you know. So, and when we say 94.5 billion naira per state, we are looking at, if you put the 3.5 trillion naira that is estimated, which, I mean, the figure is even quite conservative, because what has happened over the years is that most times governments, even within their allocation, end up not spending those amounts, you know. Our dashboard is showing that practically many of the states from 2023 to 2025 is practically showing that they are not putting money in the agriculture sector, especially in the capital expenditure. And it is waste of our commonwealth if the recurrent and overhead is spent every year totally, and capital does 50 or 60%, or in some cases 30%. In fact, there was a state that 10% of capital was the only thing that was spent, you know. And I mean, it's not only the states. I mean, the spending at the federal level is also really, really poor.
Yeah,
you know,
if you can hear me, we must go now because we have run out of time. I must thank you very much for talking to us. Azubike Nwokoye, talking to us from Lagos, is a food systems analyst, and we do hope that we'll get to talk more about this in the coming days, especially given the fact that Nigeria still needs a lot of food for its teeming population. Thank you very much, Azubike. Now, a final word for you, very quick one. Looking at the way things are, especially with the state of insecurity in Nigeria, the smallholders are not even on the farms as much as they ought to be anymore. Where do we go from here?
We must work very hard on security. We must get them back on the farm. They are the engine room of growth, and they are the engine room of the attainment of food security. Better still, we must empower or incentivize the private sector to be able to offtake what they produce. Because we must get good prices for what we produce. I should know about smallholder farmers because I was the recent, I just the immediate past president of All Farmers Association of Nigeria. I was also president of Poultry Association of Nigeria, and I'm a farmer, and I'm a village person. Okay. So we know that the smallholder farmers can do better if they sell their produce at a very good price, and they are able to also be made to be loyal to large players, large manufacturers and all that, so that once they produce, they have guaranteed offtake, and the off-takers also add value to what is produced, and they sell out, and the country will be better, and Nigeria will be better off.
All right, thank you very much. We have to go now. Thank you so much. Kabir Ibrahim, President, Nigeria Agribusiness Group, talking to us about food insecurity in Nigeria. And that's the size of the package for this morning on Kakaaki, the African Voice. We thank you for spending time with us to join us again on Tuesday for another edition of the program. My name is Kunle Adewale. Have a great day, and whatever you do, wherever you are, stay safe.